legend retires. Ubisoft stills, and Elden Ring 2 isn't happening. This is the Nerd Cave News, and I am your host, Zach Dykes, joined along by the bearded sultan himself, Derek Daniel. How's it going, my man?
Man, it is wonderful. I'm glad to be back after a 2 week hiatus. Well, or a week hiatus, I guess you could say, because we took off for Thanksgiving. Hope everyone
Mm-hmm.
was full, happy, and made merry with their family members and their loved ones last week. So, but I'm glad to be back. And boy, did nothing happen this week at all. You know what I mean? When I was putting together, I was struggling to find news. You know, it's just I almost texted you and be like, should not do a show this week, man. There's no news.
Yeah, like I got home. Well, I hadn't checked the doc and everything, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, man, I'm feeling tired. I was like,
Yeah.
could just call it. You know what I mean? Could just call it. But I'm glad we're here, getting to hang out because we've got some cool stuff down the pipe. Because this episode is brought to you by the Epic Games. You can support us by using creator code NerdCave at checkout and our wonderful patrons, but more about that later. A little bit of housekeeping for everybody. December 12th is the Game Awards, and
Mm-hmm.
we are going to be doing our yearly tradition of watching live and reacting to
Whoop,
all the
whoop.
awards, all the trailers that are going to be going on during the Game Awards. So come join us live. The show is starting at 6, but usually the actual part starts at 7, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll keep an eye on everything, but we will be live and reacting to it, and we hope that you join us and have a good time there. Derek, before we jump into the news, we
Mm-hmm.
gotta hit the segment that doesn't go
Uh-oh.
away. Derek, what you been playing?
So I tried to get some playtime in with Lego Horizons. It didn't happen. But I did play because, I want to I have a goal. Obviously, we don't have a release date, but I want to beat Ghost of Tsushima by the end of the year. So then when January hits, I can play Iki Island.
Okay.
Correct that sin because I never did
Yeah.
go and play Iki Island. So I am almost done. I did clear up all the side quests with all like your team, like all their wrapped up all their stories. I played a couple of the main quests, and I think I'm on the. I killed Koten Khan, so I
Yeah.
have the last mission where I go resolve things with my uncle, and that is it. I'm trying to clear up. I just finished clearing. I just liberated the last part of the island. Now I'm gonna go clear up all the question marks, like find all the last little collectible stuff, and then wrap up the story, and then try and get the platinum on PlayStation 5, so that way I can just go straight into Iki Island come 2025.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I'm glad that you have stuck to it. You're making the
Mm,
progress that needs to happen because I'm thinking March 2025 is probably going to be maybe because they said we won't be getting a big title until
mhm.
after then. So,
Yeah, well, I'm about to say that's the earliest that we'll get a title, but I think they'll announce that's the latest we'll get a release date. Like I think Game
yeah.
Awards might be the time where we get at least a release window, like Q1, Q2, and
Mhm.
then after Sony's fiscal year is over with, they'll be like, all right, here's what we have to bring for 2025, and then they give us an actual release date of like a state of play or a showcase or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it'll be that early because I think getting it announced in September, I think it's too. It's possible for a 6 month turnaround to get it, but I think they want to let the hype build up as much as possible. I think it's going to be more of like a summer game, like how the first game was.
Yeah, and that's totally fine by me. Give me a little time to possibly go back through it.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to yet, but I might. I
you
love
will.
Ghost. Don't get me wrong. I love Ghost. It's my game of every year.
Yeah, game of
Um,
the every year. This man
but
played it for like 3 consecutive years almost.
pretty much. So it's like, all right, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on replaying or not. But I have been playing some Dragon Age the
Mm.
Veilguard. I played a little bit this past. I played maybe a few hours, and I'm cleaning up like side quests and getting things ready to go for the next mission, which I just started it, which is getting a Gray Warden on the team. So I'm enjoying it. I am taking my time on it. It's a fun game. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's not
If you had
anything.
if you had to put a percentage on it, like how much are you through the game?
I feel like I'm maybe. I feel like the story hasn't gone super far yet, so
Hmm.
I'm gonna say I'm like 25% through,
Wow.
and I've
Wow.
I've played probably 15 hours so far.
Okay. So, I
So
mean, I don't, you've waited how long for a new Dragon Age game? I mean, 10 years just about. So,
yeah,
I mean, you want to do a slow burn. That's why you're knee deep in the Pokemon TCG pocket.
dude, I've been cooking on some Pokemon Pocket, man. Like I have been enjoying streaming it here on Tuesday
Hmm.
nights, and dude, I've been playing and it is so fun. I highly suggest it, Derek. You should get
Okay.
it. You should get it
Yeah.
and play. I think you would have a good time.
Okay. What up, Mike? How you doing, brother? So, um,
I know you got into Marvel
Marvel
Rivals because
Snap.
of it. Yeah, that one. Marvel
Yeah,
Snap.
I did. I did. Uh,
Is so
we'll
good,
think.
dude.
We'll think about it.
That's a no. That's you trying to tell me no. But we're
Well, you said it, not me. I wanted to be polite.
you just got to level, Derek. You know what I mean? You just got to level, be honest. You know what I mean? So, but I've been enjoying it a ton. I literally have like over 1,000 cards right now.
Wow.
Uh,
And I'm sure well, and I can, because what, you get a free pack a day, right?
so you get 2 free packs a day, and then
Hmm.
if you have the premium subscription, you get a free a pack with that every day.
Mister, let's not buy loot boxes and microtransactions.
Don't talk to me, Derek.
Oh, wow, you surprised me, sir. Like, I don't care what game it is. You either, like the Batman quote, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and you are the villain, sir.
Oh man, yeah, I am addicted to Pokemon right now. Yeah, I'm paying for the premium package. I got to get those cards. I've got like 26 left to get in this pack essentially. So I'm liking it, dude. And
Okay.
it's been a ton of fun to do on Tuesday nights because like I can talk and I can have fun and
Hmm.
everything, but then I can still like hone my skills and try new decks out and everything. Because I was never really into the um like
Actual card
actual
game.
card game because like it was kind of convoluted.
Yeah, I'm about
Um
to say I never played it either, but I just collected the cards.
yeah, same. But this does such a good job of streamlining everything that it's and so good. My
Hmm.
wife is over here.
She's in agreement. Like, I called him out on it. Ah.
Yeah, Derek, you'll have to pull up the comments because I can't do that right now because I've got the thing up. Yeah,
Called on it. Oh,
yeah. What
oh.
was funny, dude? I got the most random comment on a YouTube short. It was
Yeah.
like gambling addiction. I was just like, what does that even have to do with
Right.
anything? It was like I was just playing the game. It was like gambling addiction. I'm like, all right, okay.
Well, I'm about to say you're not what is it? You're not doing some battle pass, type stuff or anything. So, it's a different
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but it's still, I see you ignoring me. That's what Amy said. I see you ignoring
I'm not
me.
ignoring you. I've just got there's layers here. I there's layers here.
He can only be roasted by one person at a time and
All
address
right.
it.
Yeah, December 12th, the Game Awards. It's going to be great, y'all. So be there or be square. We're going to have a good time. And we're coming up on the end of the year, which Game
Hmm.
Awards, and then the following week will be
The last show of the
our
year, probably.
last show of the year, which
Yeah.
means the Nerd Cave Awards,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that a ton. We hope that y'all are excited for tonight's show. And let's jump into the gaming discussion this week. Ubisoft is discontinuing X Defiant in 2025. San Francisco and Osaka Studios shutting down amid major layoffs.
The shutdown will result in the closure of Ubisoft's San Francisco and Osaka studios, affecting up to 277 employees. Woof. While the Sydney site will also ramp down operations, players who made purchases within the last 30 days, including those who bought the Ultimate Founders Pack, will receive full refunds automatically within 8 weeks. Despite an initial surge of over 15 million players, Defiant struggled to maintain a competitive player base in the free to play FPS market, leading to its discontinuation. Ubisoft remains committed to developing games as a service experiences and will apply lessons learned from Defiant to future titles. Season 3 content will still be released, although new downloads and registrations for the game are no longer available as of 2 days ago on December 3rd. And Zach, I have thoughts, I have questions. My first thing is like, why does Ubisoft like lying to people? Because in the months leading up to this, right, that everyone saw the writing on the wall. Everyone like the what do you say? The people in the background were like trying to whistleblow and be like, "Hey, game doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Game's in trouble." And Ubisoft's like, "No, no, no. We're still committed. We're planning to do season 3 content. All this, that, and the other." And reports were like, they're going to give it till season 3 and then probably determine whether it acts this game or not. And Ubisoft's like, no, no, no. We're committed a long run. We want to make this game years to come. And then all of a sudden, bam, here it is. And it took some extra casualties with the mic drop essentially. So my question is like, is this more egg on the face of Ubisoft, or is this just their continued downfall essentially?
I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
Like, of course, they're not going to be like, "Hey, yeah, we're shutting down this game," because then people will completely stop playing it and money
Yeah.
will stop coming in and everything.
But
So,
it's like even that they're issuing refunds, so they're still ending up having to lose money on it though.
oh, yeah, they're going to lose money regardless. But
Yeah.
it's like this is case in point why live service games do not work for majority of games.
Correct.
There are a few that have the zeitgeist. They are the Kinkos. They're
Yeah.
like they are the name brand when you think of whatever it is. And oh, go Xerox it or whatever. It's like no one has a Xerox anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? But that is like synonymous with that action, just like Fortnite is synonymous with live service games.
Correct.
X Defiant was doomed to fail, and Concord doomed to fail. So these are two big games that have come out this year, and that X Defiant. When did X last year?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So this year has already claimed two major live service games, and that's kind of crazy. But I feel like Ubisoft is fixing to either be bought out or it is going to be like an imploding star.
And that was going to lead up to my next question is like, because of this, if they keep, for lack of a better phrase, downsizing or like shutting studios, obviously I think now, never say never, obviously, but I think they're too big. They have way too many studios to just outright close as a company.
Yeah.
But do you think that they will inevitably shrink down? Like, do you think that they'll just shrink down out of existence? Or do you think they're just going to like, quote unquote, trim their fat and basically make it more to where they are going to have to pretty much, their hand is going to be forced to sell?
I think they're going to try to boost profitability like you're talking about by downsizing, but you also have to think they are one of the biggest publishers out there, like with the amount of
IP
and developers. Like they've got
Right.
so many different studios under the umbrella. Like it's kind of crazy across the world how many development studios Ubisoft has. So consolidating and bringing talent in, like if I was at the head of Ubisoft, this is what I would do to, have an exit
Mm-hmm.
plan. I would find the people that are successful,
Mm-hmm.
driven, and I would keep them, bring them into studios. I would get rid of the low performing individuals,
Yeah.
and I would place the high performing individuals in there, and I would strengthen the studios that need to be strengthened and get rid of the stuff that doesn't need to be there. That's me thinking as a business person,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But we already see Ubisoft does not think like
No,
business people.
they
They
don't.
I don't know what's going on over there. So they are going to keep batting in the air and continue not to be able to do anything. And Yves Guillemot, like I feel like he is going to be ousted very, very soon
Mm-hmm.
if we keep having these situations going on.
I think so. It's going to be one of those like not to cross streams here, but it's going to be like Bobby Bowden at Florida State, where they're going to basically force him to leave and basically like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Roll lets you leave on your own terms, but we need you gone one way or another. Either you can go out gracefully or you can get kicked out. Your choice.
Yeah.
So I think a hostile takeover will be in effect if he can't right the ship. But we've already seen over the last several years that not only are their games declining, them as a studio, like that, just like their reputation is declining as
Yeah.
well. They like ever again, I point to the Vivendi, ever since they fought them off, like we were all celebrating for them, happy for them, but now it's like what at what cost type deal. Like we'll get into
Yeah.
that in the next story about cost and effect type deals with decisions, but I feel like that was the turning point to where they're just got fat and happy and we're just like, hey, we don't have to fight to survive anymore. But that also, I just was thinking about it as, thinking about this question too. Do you think they sell or do you think they get so hemorrhaged with cutting studios that they do kind of like, I know it's not a same like one-to-one scenario, but same kind of principle, like how Marvel did with their IP, right? Or Disney, just like how instead of being in bed with one studio, they're going to be like, hey, you do great at action adventures or you do great at RPGs. We're going to let you license out, get whatever license you want to, and just let you go ham with it. Do you think Ubisoft would ever consider licensing out, like, hey, let's give Far Cry to battle like Dice at Battlefield or like Respawn type deal, and like, hey, you make the next Far Cry game, or you make the next Rainbow Six or Ghost Recon or whatever shooter genre, and then they go to what's another IP? What's another? Oh, they go to like say Square Enix is like, hey, you do well at RPGs. Let's
Mm-hmm.
have you make the next Assassin's Creed. Do you think that's a possibility even?
I think it could be. It could be also Crystal Dynamics where they sell off IPs.
That's true
You
too.
know, and it would be their low performing stuff because they haven't made any of this stuff in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But they will cling on to Assassin's Creed because we clearly see that as their strategy. Now, if Shadows does poorly, which I think
Oh,
it probably will,
it's looking like that, especially after they just shadow announced their cancellation of their season pass.
yeah. So with that doing poorly next year in February, I think that is the nail in the coffin, and
Yeah.
there's going to be a major change that has to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think the shareholders will be happy with just shilling out IPs. I think they're
Mm-hmm.
going to want quick returns and to be
Yeah.
able to get out of there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they want to make sure that they are covered, and if that is selling Splinter Cell or Tom Clancy's IP to somebody else, then they will do that.
Yeah.
But we can still make Beyond Good and Evil 3 or 2 or whatever it
Yeah, I
is.
know. Like that'll still be in the cards forever,
So all right, let's move on to some sad slash happy news, I guess.
Maybe.
Maybe PlayStation veteran, full of grace, Shuhei Yoshida is retiring from Sony in January.
Bum bum bum. So Yoshida was instrumental in the launch of PlayStation, serving in various roles, including president of SIE Worldwide Studios from 2008 to 2019, and currently as head of Indies Initiative. While Yoshida has not detailed his next steps, he expressed a desire to remain in the games industry after his retirement. Yoshida's contributions helped shape the PlayStation brand, particularly in promoting 3D graphics technology and supporting indie game development. His retirement announcement coincides with the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, during which Sony revealed that the PS2 sold 160 million units. And, like you sent me this, like I was at work, close that night, and I'm on break, and you're sitting there texting me, and sent me a text. It's like, Shu is leaving PlayStation, and I just sent you the Darth Vader from meme from episode 3, and you're like, no. It was, and then the next meme that came to mind was from Infinity War. Thanos talking to Gamora, like back in the young days, like, and it's like, what did it cost you? And I immediately thought, it's like, you got rid of Jim Ryan. What did it cost you? Shuhei Yoshida.
Yeah, it cost me everything.
Right.
Yeah, like I remember looking at Amy. I was like, Amy, Shuhei is retiring, and she's like,
yeah.
What? It was such a huge shock, and it's like people are like, why is Shuhei like Shuhei has been a part of this podcast, part of Kind of Funny, like
yeah,
the whole lore behind like
Shuhei,
full of grace, you know what I mean? Like it's just part of this, but like Shuhei, like first game, he was from the inception of the PlayStation.
Correct.
1, but his first game that he launched was Legends of Dragoon.
Mm-hmm. A very hidden gem of PlayStation, honestly.
Yeah. But like without Shuhei, so many different things would have happened. Like
correct.
The God of War that we would have
28.
gotten. Yeah.
I remember I was gonna go there. The most lasting memory, or like one of the last big memories, was watching that documentary of the 2018 God of War release, and Cory Barlog's just sitting there like showing him the first initial build of God of War, and Shu just looks at him and is like, what is this crap? He doesn't berate Cory, but he doesn't he's not excited, and Cory just feels like his disdain and his disappointment is like, well, I gotta get back to the drawing board.
Yeah. And him, like, our hopes and dreams were that Shuhei would take over and be the CEO, but he has been there for 30 years. He has put in a ton of work, and
I mean, he spent 11, 12 years as the president of SIE. So, I mean, he did his part.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like you want the boy to be the CEO. You want him to be the big cheese. But when it all comes down to it, it's like he has really served PlayStation. And I think it's gotten to the point where, he might not say this, but you can kind of see it. It's like he's kind of been pushed off to the side more and more.
Yeah.
It kind of like Gio Corsi, like it's like, oh, Indies, and then he left. And this is kind of the same thing going on here. But it's like, okay, he's been there for a long time, but he still wants to be involved in gaming, which I'm excited about because he knows his stuff. And I think he brings a level of just expertise that anyone would want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Derek, I'm going to say something crazy, and I highly doubt that it will happen.
You say something crazy. That's not like you at all.
Shuhei leaves PlayStation.
Don't you say it.
6 months later, goes over to the big X brand, goes and becomes part of Xbox.
Oh, it would hurt. It would hurt. Oh, it would hurt so much. But his expertise would be so well put there, especially with rough waters.
The actual game development side and pushing games out. That's one of his like big things that he's good at.
Correct. And I didn't watch the whole mini review, but I saw like at least Kind of Funny's like initial score review of Indiana Jones, and it's like middling. I didn't expect great things of it, but he would also right the ship. He would look at I know he's not in game development, but I'll say he's still there now, back under Xbox with Blizzard, but he would look at Rod Ferguson and basically like, your game's trash, fix it.
Yeah, and it's just like having somebody that it's like they're going to level with you. They're not going to beat around the bush. They're going to be
Right.
honest and give you steps to make your product better,
Hmm.
because the end goal is to have a good game,
Right.
you know?
Now, my counter question would be, if this does happen, um, do you think Phil would give him full reign, or would Phil still basically have final say? It's like, hey, you can do what you want to, but I still have final say. So if you come to me and basically like, let's just say hypothetically, like avowed, right? Just because I don't know
Hmm.
like how well that game looks better, but I don't
Yeah.
know if it's going to do gangbusters.
No, it's not.
Let's actually do a game that didn't do well. Send you Hellblade 2.
Yeah.
Well, Hellblade 2. You think that, if Shuhei came to him and was like, yeah, I know you want to push it out. It's been in development for a long time, but it's not ready. Like, so either cancel it or give it more time. And Phil says no. Like, do you think Phil would do that, or do you think he would trust Shuhei's expertise?
I feel like Phil would trust the expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Just because
because,
he's been, and I only say that because he's been head of the ship since 2014 for 10 years.
yeah,
So obviously, and he's been with Xbox way longer than that. You know what I mean? Just
yeah,
kind of like Shuhei. But at the same time, you sometimes people have a hard time letting go of full control. Like again, with
true,
someone like
true.
Shu, you would kind of almost be comfortable with it, but at the same time, like what we've seen lately with how they handle their business decisions and shutting
Yeah,
down studios after saying no, 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 we're not going to do that.
yeah,
I don't know if Phil's word can be, fully trusted anymore.
yeah. I agree. For me, I think it would be if he. Of course, all of this is speculation.
Oh
Everybody,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we were just throwing stuff at the wall. I think he will go more indie, or work with like a third party developer that's, like a Devolver Digital or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was at Xbox, it's like you're bringing him on because of his pedigree. You're
Mm-hmm.
bringing him on as a trusted advisor, because the Xbox has suffered since the 360 of not having enough games.
Yes.
Like, that is literally Xbox One. I felt like there was hardly any games for the
Yeah.
Xbox One. And now we're on the Xbox Series X and S, and there's hardly any games. And it's like we keep getting promised, oh, we're going to get you games, and then we get stuff like,
The dominoes are going to fall.
yeah, and it's like it's all it's like, is it? Is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I feel like with Shu there, if this were to happen, it would be okay. This is actually our roadmap. These are the
Yeah.
things that we're able to do, and would set up Xbox for success, because you look at the roadmap, you look at the things that PlayStation was able to do with him there. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, Shuhei was not the only person there. Sean Layden had a huge part of that.
Oh yeah.
Jack Ryan as well.
Adam Boys.
Adam Boyce, like there's so many people that were a part of that made it successful. But it's like, when you're in the room and you know how people make decisions and how things are supposed to go, and you've been successful, it's so much
Mm-hmm.
easier to go into another room and teach people how to make it successful, because
Mm-hmm.
Xbox has got all of these very interesting new things with
Mm-hmm.
xCloud, and like you can play on the TV and all of that, and it's
Yeah.
super cool. But if you ain't got any games, it don't really matter if you can play anywhere.
Right. 100%. So yeah, that's fun. It's like it's fun to speculate. Like
Yeah.
the what if scenario. Thinking about it while you were talking, I could see, again, indie, I think, is the way that Shu wants to go because, stay small, because that's what his passion is. Like, you know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
could also see him going to like a smaller, like a double A like company like
Mm.
Embracer Group or Tencent, because those two companies have been struggling, have had their ups and downs lately. And I could see him coming in to right that ship
Yeah. Could
because
feel like,
both of them have huge, like when I say huge, not like huge as far as AAA, but like huge as like the amount of IPs that they have under their
mhm.
banners. And he could come and write that ship. It's like, hey, Embracer, you have 40 million IP, or no, THQ Nordic, you have 40 million IPs. Let's figure out what we want to do and get those out ASAP. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think. It was the people that made like Banishers. It's like
Focus Entertainment.
Focus Entertainment. He could go there
Yeah,
easily. Don't Nod, Deck Nine.
yeah.
But I do feel like Tencent would have the money. Embracer
Oh, for
doesn't have the
sure.
money
No.
for something like that. But having somebody like Shu on board, awesome. Now, Derek, he could follow in another major player's footsteps and become part of
Don't.
GameStop.
No, I'll say don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my god! As soon as you said he could follow another, I was like, don't do Reggie. Don't, gosh, don't do it.
Reggie, get that bag, y'all. Reggie,
No, see,
get
now
that
see,
bag.
like, no disrespect to Reggie, but Shuhei would definitely look at them and be like, just close.
Burn it to the ground.
Yeah, he would
Get
be the one I would
insurance money.
trust to shut down GameStop.
Yeah. I just had to do that.
I
Guys,
know.
it's time for the PlayStation Quickies.
So starting off, a black PS Portal is reportedly part of Sony's new line of PS5 accessories. Digital Foundry is has corroborating reports about a PlayStation handheld console that is incoming soon, or an announcement at least. Sony confirms that the PS2 has sold over 160 million consoles worldwide. Herman Holst says it's crucial to preserve the human touch in game development when discussing AI. Sean Layden argues games should be shorter as dev costs are not sustainable anymore. New month, obviously, and means new PS Plus games. Your free games for December are It Takes Two on the PS5 and PS4, Aliens Dark Descent on both consoles, on both PlayStations, and lastly, Temtem on the PS5. Following that, PS Plus premium games will include Sly Cooper and the Jack and Daxter classics. Rumor, Forza Horizon 5 is ready to come to PS5 at Xbox's convenience. My First Gran Turismo brings free-to-play racing to both PlayStation consoles tomorrow. From Software's parent company is reportedly the one pushing Sony to acquire it. However, a financial report claims Sony may find it hard to buy all of From Software parent company Kadokawa. Helldivers 2 has been crowned Game of the Year at the Taiga Awards. Taiga, however you want to pronounce it. Helldivers 2 data miner uncovers Super Earth map that points to rural locations. Sean Layden would like to see Sony revisit the Medieval franchise. And lastly, Naughty Dog's new game has Neil Druckmann the most excited he has ever been for a project. And I'm sure that's because he is just excited to work on something new and that, pushes his creativity that's not Uncharted or Last of Us. No disrespect, but I think he's wanting to just have a breath of fresh air come into that studio.
Yeah, like after working on the same thing over and over and then going and working on the TV show, which is a different set of skills, but you're still
Right.
working on the same story. And he's a storyteller. He wants to tell something new. I think
Right.
that is probably why he's super, super excited. One, I am excited. We're getting a black PS Portal.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of giving me some Vita vibes. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And we did get a medieval remaster, like
Yeah. But he's talking about, I think
2016.
he wants to talk about like a new entry in the series.
Yeah, I don't think that franchise is a game that would do well now.
No, back in the day when they were doing that remaster and what's that one? Concrete Genie, like those
Yeah.
smaller ones. I think that would have been a time to do a new one. But
Yeah.
I think they're better off doing new stuff like Astrobot. Because like stuff like the old stuff they want to go back to, like Little Big Planet, they put one out on the launch of the PlayStation 5. It didn't do anything. It came out to a dull roar, and they haven't revisited stuff like that since. So I think Astrobot is their golden egg for that type of games anymore. So I think it behooves them to do something more along that lines rather than bring back older, back from the dead franchises, pun intended.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's time to move on. I do like the medieval
Yeah.
franchise and everything. I love that, enjoy playing it, but it's just like it's not for now.
Right.
And then I did want to hit the From Software. Like, do you think that this is going to be something that actually happens?
since the Katakawa is the one pushing for it, I think it has a higher chance to happen because Microsoft, like, I know it's apples to oranges because they're buying the parent company, they're not buying actual From Software, like, or at least that's what initial face value is going to be.
Well,
I don't
company,
I
you
don't know if
get
it's like a
everything.
ZeniMax thing where like
Yeah.
they, you know what I mean? Like it may be that, it may not be. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not very learned on the ins and outs of how the parent company works versus buying the actual company. Um,
Well, the way it works is if you buy the parent company, you buy all of its assets, unless
oh,
there's like some stipulation that X is not included and they go on their own because they're buying themselves out or whatever. But if
so
Sony
like
is going,
Square Enix when they sold off those certain studios.
yes, like
Got you.
if Sony is going to buy this, they're going to want From Software.
That's true. Yeah, they're not, and that's the thing. I think it'll depend on, like you just said, the what's the devil in the details.
Yeah.
Like, what are we getting? What are we not getting? But also, I think the only thing that's stopping it, and not to rub salt in the wound, I think Xbox ruined this for a lot of people. And again, From Software, no disrespect to them, they're not in the same class as Blizzard and Activision, like in terms of like money, prestige, deep IP, that kind of thing. Like I think they're close, but I don't think they're in the same ballpark. Or they're
No.
right outside the fence. They're not inside the field, in my opinion. That I know they've had some Game of the Year contenders, some Game of the
Yeah.
Year winners, but that's just my personal take on it. I don't think they're up there, but not right up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they have
But
a definite like like Blizzard has a more deep history, Activision has a deeper history, but the meteoric rise of From Software
yeah,
is something like we haven't ever seen on like a
correct.
on a third party developer.
Yeah,
You know,
100%. But my point is, I think because of that, because they're still up there, I think because of how it handled the length it took, the constant court battles against the FTC, Sony, and all that kind of stuff, I think that this ruined it. So I think it depends on what the rumbling Sony hears is like, all right, like if they get any backlash or tips that basically like, hey, this is going to cost y'all, or this is going to take y'all a while to do. It's like I don't know if Sony wants to go through that. You know what I mean? So, and I
yeah.
don't know if the FTC does get involved, they're like, yeah, you see, I know y'all were on our side technically, but at the same time, we can't play favorites. So if we have to bash Microsoft or like give them the third degree, we have to do that for y'all too. So I don't know. I feel like because of that whole song and dance, I don't know if it's going to be worth the effort in the long run. Like, yes, like you said, From Software is on a meteoric rise, but I think the how the paperwork gets filed is going to be the real truth teller.
Yeah, and I think because of the Activision Blizzard acquisition, it is going to make it harder for anyone that is this size to be able to buy a
Correct.
larger company like
Mm-hmm.
this one, Katakawa or
Katakawa,
Katakawa.
yeah.
Like, it's going to be super hard to be able to buy them because of the things that Xbox has done. And yes, like, you can't judge somebody by someone else's actions, but it does set a precedent for, how the FTC is going to look at things going
Correct.
forward. And in a way, I kind of don't want Sony to buy them.
I don't either. Like, I understand. Like, yes, because we've talked about how game acquisitions are still going to be a thing. Like obviously
Mm-hmm.
the first hot and heavy like blitz wave has died down, and now I think they're going to be more like companies are going to be more strategic rather than just buying up left and right like hungry hippos essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and even Microsoft has said, hey. We're still in the acquisition market, but we're not going to do like a Activision Blizzard level one again, at least for a long time. Like I still think
yeah.
there's still indie devs and like double A developers that can be
Mm-hmm.
bought up. But again, I'm kind of in your wheelhouse because what obviously, yes, they've partnered with From Software on Bloodborne, with
Mm-hmm.
Demon Souls. That they've
Yeah.
had they've been in bed with From Software before. but I don't know, like, they haven't had that rich history. You know what I mean? They've made two really good games, but From Software has done its best with Sekiro and Elden Ring on its own. So
Well, then you got Demon Souls or Dark
right.
Souls, dude. Like that game
Yeah.
sold crazy as well.
Oh, for sure. And it was up for Game of the Year contenders. But my thing is like From Software, like again with their Meteoric Rise, they're almost in that same wheelhouse as Rockstar. Like they march to the beat of their own drum. Like they don't really need anyone to play ball with. They can just be like, hey, all we got to do is throw our logo up, put out a game that looks like other stuff we made that has been successful, and we're all right. We're going to do well financially. So it's like they're not hurting financially in my that we know of anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of agree with you. Like they really don't need to be bought out.
Yeah, and I think it's more of the parent company wanting to make money and be done with it.
Yeah.
Somebody is wanting to exit, and
Yeah.
they're like, let's get Sony to buy this and be done with this so we
Yeah.
can go sit on the beach or, go skiing or whatever it is. But like, it is one of those things that's like, I don't want to see them get bought and then, like, Bungie is in a weird place, and
Yeah.
it's not Sony's fault that they're in a weird place, but it's like I don't want to see any of that like going on. You know what I mean?
Right. Mike brings up a good question. Wonder if layoff stipulators will be in future FTC cases. You gotta almost assume, right?
Yeah.
Like because again, Microsoft screwed the pooch and they said, no, we're not going to close anyone. We're not going to lay off. Like all this is rhetoric that you're just trying to throw against us to not make the acquisition go through. And what do we see 6 months later? Probably not even then after the acquisition. And that is they shut down 3 Bethesda. Now Bethesda was more of like, I know Activision Blizzard got hit with a bunch of layoffs, but Bethesda was also the sufferer of studio closures and layoffs. So we saw that it's like, hey, we have to downsize a lot. We're gonna have to let a bunch of y'all go since we just paid almost 70 billion with a B dollars on this company. So, and that ticked off the FTC. So I almost think that has to be a stipulation going forward. Like, again, it depends on what company is buying which studio and, blah, blah, blah. Like, again, if you're buying like Devolver Digital, you might have that as like a minor stipulation, but I don't think, but now if you're going to buy, like say Sony goes and buys Rockstar, right? Like that has to be in there.
Yeah. And it might be, you can only let go 10% or 5% or whatever it is. I don't think they'll put a hard and fast line that you can't let go of anyone because there will be redundancies. There has to be some sort of protections with these purchases because if, say Activision Blizzard didn't get bought, those people would still have jobs.
Correct.
So,
but then also Bobby Kotick would still be there ruining lives.
True. But those people would have jobs still.
Also true. So,
guys, make sure to subscribe to the Nerd Cave News on podcast services and, of course, here on YouTube, which is now the largest podcast service on the globe. And rate us 5 stars.
Do it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, my mama said if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Right. So go give us those 5 stars. Make sure to subscribe here on the Nerd Cave. And I am excited to get into the next story. Hidetaka Miyazaki. Am I right?
Yep. Hidetaka Miyazaki. Yep.
Says Elden Ring 2 is not being considered at From Software.
So From Software is working on several new projects across various genres, none of which are direct continuations of Elden Ring, indicating a diverse direction for the studio. Elden Ring has achieved remarkable success, selling over 25 million units, making it From Software's most successful title to date. While no immediate plans for Elden Ring 2 exist, Miyazaki hinted at the possibility of returning to the Elden Ring franchise in some form in the future. Fans are hopeful for a return to the Dark Souls franchise or a sequel to Bloodborne, as these franchises have been dormant for several years. It's time for... Oh, I'll say that... So they kind of buried the lead for me on this one, right? And I was going to
Yeah.
say the real title should be no plans for Elden Ring 2 ... right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Obviously Elden Ring won Game of the Year, did gangbuster numbers for them, like was a huge, like before it even came out, people were just fawning over any time we saw a trailer for Elden Ring, right? And then we got
Mm-hmm.
Shadow of the Erdtree. It took a couple years, but it came out and it's up for right or for wrong. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's up for Game of the Year contender
Yep.
as DLC. And it just proves that that IP is strong. Like I don't think I don't think they're going to shelve it. I don't think they're going to not do any more. They're obviously going to do some, but I think they want to. I think they learned a lesson from Dark Souls, right? Where I think they put out the sequels kind of too close to each
Yep.
other. I think they gave like a 3-year gap with one of them. I think it was between 2 and 3. But Dark Souls 2, while it was still a good game, was obviously the weakest out of the
Mm-hmm.
trilogy. And I think that they learned from that. It's like, hey, instead of just trying to pump these out and try to like ride that wave, let's put it on the back burner, let people just crave it and let it simmer, let people crave it. And just like when we release it, 5 years, 7 years from now, people will go massive and will make tons of money again and win Game of
Yeah.
the Year awards again. But also, I think I do agree that because of that meteoric success that From Software has had over the last decade plus, that it does behoove them to try. Like I know, even though I was in the camp that nothing came from it, like people like one of the ones that people want is another Bloodborne game. Like people lost their
Mm-hmm.
ever love. Like it was a good game. Like it didn't do gangbusters, but it was a great PlayStation exclusive on the PS4. It did what it needed to do. Obviously, people like they had that 30th anniversary trailer last week and or earlier this week, one of the two, and it ended on the Bloodborne thing, and people were like, "Oh, this means something," blah blah, and it's like, no, it doesn't. They're just giving an ode to it, and of course, nothing did happen. And the people have been clamoring it for over the years so much
Mm-hmm.
that they were just like, hey, put out a 60 FPS patch. Like we don't care. Like make it more frame rate happy. Like it was like we'll just settle for that. You know what I mean? Like it is. People are so ravenous over a Bloodborne sequel that I think it would behoove them to try it, or even go back to a Demon Souls type thing, because Demon Souls was the one that put From Software on the map. So, and I know they did the remake of it for a PS5 launch game. So it would also, I would almost wonder if it behooved them to go back to the pretty much the one that brought them to the dance. But I don't know if they want to do another Dark Souls title per se, because again, a new IP would behoove them. Like again, all you got to do is do some form of some time period, like medieval fantasy, gothic fantasy, or whatever you want to do, and just put a sword in someone's hand and just do dodge rolls all the time, and people will love it. But also, I would be interested to see what they could do with a sequel to Sekiro as well. Now, I don't know if people are clamoring for it as much as they would a Bloodborne 2
Yeah.
or an Elden Ring 2, but that was their first Game of the Year winner in a
Mm-hmm.
long time. So it would behoove them to maybe visit another Sekiro. Also, they've done, like, again, it's not a Souls-born game, but it did well for them. Armored Core, like, to go back to
Yeah.
that well, I think they put out 6 to test that well to see if people still like this franchise, and obviously they did. It did well enough. It didn't, again, not Elden Ring numbers, but few games do that. I think, and again, it was their 6th one. Like only Black Ops 6 can tout that they've done more than 4 or 5 games in a series.
Final Fantasy.
Well, Final Fantasy can't number anyway. Like
Dragon
yeah.
Age. I mean, Dragon Quest. There's a lot that have more than 6 there.
Well, how about this? Western games, I guess you can say. No, from Software Japan. Anyway, you get my point. You get my point. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, but they have other IP they can visit. So I think that they put all their heart and soul into Elden Ring and the DLC, that I think they deserve to take a break from that and go visit something else, or just do something new entirely.
Well, it's like GTA. And we're about to get GTA 6, which, do we get in 2025? Who knows at this point? But they let GTAs sit and simmer for a very long time. Between Vice City and 4 to 5 was a shorter period of time,
Yeah,
but it was still a good while. And then 5 to 6, a very long time.
we're going on
Like,
almost 12 years if it hits out next year.
yeah. And it's like, yeah, they do have the online mode side of things, but if they take time away from Elden Ring and they go make a Sekiro, sequel or a Bloodborne
Mhm.
2, they're going to learn new things that they can bring to Elden Ring 2
Mhm.
and make it even better. But if they
Correct.
just keep hitting the same thing over and over, you're going to fall into the thing that Assassin's Creed has fallen into, even
Yep.
Call of Duty has fallen into, which I hear the new one is actually pretty good.
Mhm.
But it's like you have to keep the sword sharp and just hitting the same thing over and over again and not changing your strikes. It's not
Yeah.
going to be effective. So you gotta do some different things. And I think them putting out Erd Tree and it getting nominated, I think has bought them, a few years at least to
Oh
be able
yeah.
to do something else. Because yeah, we got Elden Ring, but then we got Armored Core 6. There we go. I was almost
Yeah.
said Mech Warrior. That's a totally different game.
Yeah.
But Armored Core 6, and then we got Erd Tree, and it's like, okay, they're trying some different things. They're seeing what's going on here. But I think even some new IP would be nice.
Mhm.
I don't think space is the way to go. I don't feel like that's like something that they would
No.
necessarily be like
I
like
think they did well branching off and to go to the samurai route with Sekiro. So I think
yeah,
like give the medieval fantasy gothic one a break a little bit. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like be bold and venture out into something else.
yeah. Do
But then
something
again,
different.
so many genres you can swing a sword. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, well, and it's done something when there is a literal genre named after their games.
correct.
So but some of this could come down to, do they get bought, you know?
Yeah, that's true too. So
So because then they won't be making the decisions at that point. They'll have somebody telling them what they're going to be making, which
yeah.
hopefully they won't get bought. So guys, it's time for the Patreon quick hits. The Patreon quick hits are brought to you by our wonderful patrons. So go over and support the Nerd Cave by getting your very own Nerd Cave membership to help us continue to make awesome shows like this one. So become part of the ship, part of the crew at patreon.com/nerdcave. Keep the lights and the mics on. We're a 1.5 person business here, and we need all your help. So if you have any extra dollars to toss our way, go ahead and toss them dollars. Make Derek holler. Guys, it's time for the Patreon quick hits.
Starting off, Fortnite Chapter 6 confirms Godzilla and Baymax in new artwork. Some CD Projekt Red news. CD Projekt Red confirms The Witcher 4 has now entered full-scale production. Following that, The Witcher 4 will be better, bigger, and greater than The Witcher 3, says the VP of Tech. Cyberpunk 2077 has reached 30 million copies sold since launch. Another animated Cyberpunk TV show is in the works, and also it will premiere on Netflix. CD Projekt is still conceptualizing a live-action Cyberpunk project. Rumor future Mortal Kombat 1 DLC has been canceled due to poor sales of the Chaos Reigns expansion. Borderlands Baldur's Gate 3 has reportedly sold 15 million copies worldwide across all formats. Following that, Baldur's Gate 3 will add 12 new subclasses, crossplay, and a photo mode in 2025. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle allows you to tweak combat and puzzle difficulty, but there's no photo mode. Following that, Troy Baker reveals he originally turned down his role in Indiana Jones before changing his mind. Indiana Jones melee combat has been made intentionally chaotic. Microsoft is the subject of an FTC antitrust investigation into its business practices. Speaking of that, Star Wars Hunters has been confirmed for PC via Steam Early Access for 2025. Rumor, Sniper Elite Battle Royale game has been shelved as Tencent pulls funding. Mac Walters' Worlds Untold has paused operations as it searches for a new partner. Devolver Digital has announced Baby Steps, Stick It to the Stick Man, and Skate Story have all been delayed into 2025. Pal World update is coming next month with new island that is 6 times larger than Sakurajima. Liza P Dev confirms DLC is set to launch in Q1 of next year. Following that, Liza P Dev's new game is a sci-fi horror title powered by Unreal Engine 5. The sequel to Watch Dogs Legion is here as an audio experience. GameStop is reportedly closing all remaining stores in Germany. Gary's Mod has now sold an incredible 25.4 million copies, making it the best-selling PC exclusive of all time. A court order delays Microsoft's plans to allow Xbox games to be purchased directly in the Xbox app on Android. A Lego James Bond game was pitched by TT Games in newly unearthed trailer. From Software confirms it's working on multiple projects spanning various genres. Intel announces next-gen B580 and B570 graphics cards for budget-friendly PC gaming. Pokemon TCG Pocket estimated to have crossed the $200 million mark and is already outperforming Pokemon Sleep and Unite. Survey says gamers spend more time watching videos about gaming than actually playing them. Chivalry dev Torn Banner Studios has announced layoffs. Fallout Season 2 has kicked off filming as Walter Goggins returns to role as the Ghoul. Switch Online Library adds Game Boy Classic Donkey Kong Land 3. Critical Role is in active pursuit of creating a video game. Borderlands 3 director says AAA studios are playing it safe as you have people who get nervous because big money is involved. Ilphonic, the people behind Predator Hunting Grounds and Friday the 13th, has announced layoffs. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 kicks off a 7-day free trial starting on December 13th. Dragon Age The Veilguard character creator is being released as for free as a standalone app. Following that, Veilguard director says choices going back to Dragon Age Origins still have a chance to impact potential sequels. And lastly, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 release date has moved up a week to February 4th.
I'm curious if they're moving it up to get out of the way of Shadows.
True. About say even though we both think it won't do well, like they still like on paper they still want to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, everybody, that is the Nerd Cave for this week. Next week, we will be reacting and watching the Game Awards live with everybody. So come be a part of that. We'll be live at 7 p.m. Central Time. So it's going to be a fantastic thing. We do it each and every week. And then the following week is the Nerd Cave Awards, our final show of the year. And I'm excited about it, guys. So again, this has been Zach
and Derek.
Y'all have an awesome week. Bye-bye.